This is the Not Bitter, Just Better podcast.
The Everton our way.
Straight from the street end.
Howdy Blues, welcome to Not Bitter, Just Better Everton podcast. Mr. Johnny 7 here as always, and I am a little bit under the weather today, so I don't need sympathy or anything. It just might be a little bit of a shorter podcast, and there's no preview of any game at the weekend, obviously, because we've got a 10-day break now. So it should be a short one, ish. Looking back at last night's game away to Brentford, I'm recording this Thursday evening. It will be out on Friday. So if you hear me saying last night, I'm talking about Wednesday night. I'll have a little bit of the Everton news, and then rather than looking ahead to a game at the weekend, I think what I'm going to do, well, I know what I'm going to do because I've already laid it out, is look at the out-of-contract players and have a little bit of a discussion about whether I think we're going to end up keeping them. Obviously, we've got a couple of loans that are going to expire then, whether there's any future for those players at the club, and the players are out of contract, and their rumoured wages, and whether we should be offering or whether we should be wishing them well in their future endeavours. So starting off, and at the G-Tech Stadium, Everton beat Brentford, 7:30 kickoff, and I'd already done a preview. I couldn't really see there being any changes. When the team news did come out, though, there was one noticeable absence, and that was Abdoulaye Doucouré. And there were rumours that he'd picked up a knock earlier on in the day, but then the club came out and announced that his wife was about to give birth, and he was going to be present for that, so he wasn't even in the squad, obviously. So Alcaraz came in. And then Norgard, who I highlighted as one to watch, was part of the concussion protocol, and I think he's got to be out for 14 days for Brentford, so they had to make a change too. So Pickford in goal, Mikalenko, O'Brien fullbacks, Tarkowski against one of his former clubs, and Branthwaite in the middle. Then Garner with Alcaraz in front of them. Harrison, Lindstrom on the wings, and after shaking off the illness that he had at the weekend, and Beto up top. And as a lot of people imagined, and as I mentioned beforehand, there was quite an open game. There was chances and efforts from both ends, quite end to end. Everton started positively and created a good early few chances, back-to-back chances for Beto. First one after Pinnock slipped and he went through on goal, but failed. He rather than finishing like he has been doing, he tried to go round Fleckham, and he just stuck a hand up and managed to stop him going past him. Yeah, it was a strange one actually, because we're saying about it, once he gets that running through, he doesn't necessarily need to think about it as much, and it seemed like he was in his own head. And I wonder whether when Pinnock slipped, he kind of caught him, and rather than go down, Beto stayed on his feet and went through and opted to take on the keeper instead. And then not long after that, another 1-to-1. I think it was after a little exchange with Alcaraz, who put him through. Much clearer 1-on-1 this time, and the keeper came out again, and he just slid it under him. But the keeper, Fleckham's got enough on it to just send it agonisingly wide. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to pause that there, and I had a little bit of a sneezing episode. So now, hopefully okay. So where am I? Yeah, so the second effort through on goal and tried to slide it under him, more akin to the chances he has been putting away, but Flecken gets enough on it and sends it agonisingly wide when it looked like it was rolling in. So really unusual given the form he's been in, and yeah, you would have put your money on them. And then seemingly against the run of play, there was one or two other efforts as well, but seemingly against the run of play, a little bit of sloppy play from the Blues, a long throw into the box, Mbeumo's header hits the bar, goes straight up in the air, and similar to the Decore goal against Man United at the weekend, Wissa came in and rose higher than the Blues defenders, leaving them standing really, and managed to knock in the rebound, which was a bit of a shame. He went past Lindstrom, who didn't really move, and then O'Brien was slightly disappointing, and he tried to hook the ball clear with his foot rather than trying to clear with his head. And I think that played into his later on, which I'll move on to that in a little bit. But it was one of those, he wanted a little bit more, and like Decore did against Man U. So disappointingly, 45 minutes and then 4 minutes of injury time, Brentford go in 1-0 up, and it was it was strange to be on top like that. And normally, the way it's been, it's only a few weeks ago that wouldn't be a surprise. The surprise would be that we had the chances, and Beto also had another chance where the ball was knocked down the back post, and he tried to hook it, but it was quite close range, and he didn't manage to get anything on it. He was being shepherded quite well by a defender, and it was quite close range from the goalie, but didn't manage to get anything on it, and so he could really have had a hat trick, and they didn't have that many chances or clear cut chances. So it was disappointing to be going in 1-0 down. And they started the second half brightly, and Wissa had the ball in the net again, but was ruled offside. And it was a funny one, this, wasn't it? It was like because Pickford came out, and because Pickford came out, the offside rule changes. And I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the offside rule, but there wasn't the same amount of players, so it was ruled offside, even though there was a defender behind Pickford. So yeah, so those kind of rules kind of just they don't come into play that often, so they don't often get talked about. So it was a little bit shaky whether it would stand or not. So yeah, it didn't, luckily. Then we continued to press on. We ended up making a couple of changes. Garnagay was knackered, and so Tim came on, and I can't remember. Young came on for Lindstrom. So they come on, and that was around the 75th minute, and not long after that, Mikalenko whips a ball in, and coming in from the back post from about 2 feet off the floor, because he's 6'5", he powered in a diving header. Jake O'Brien got his first Everton goal, and bizarrely, Mikalenko's first assist in 100 games for Everton. Yeah, so great finish, but very muted celebrations from O'Brien, and I wonder whether this was whether he was kind of being harsh on himself for their goal, because he didn't make the challenge, or he didn't clear the lines or whatever. So, or maybe he was waiting for the flag, so waiting for VAR to intervene or something. So anyway, the Blues are 1-1, and then we stopped pushing on more, and I think Alcaraz ended up having a few shots, one which was really close to the bottom corner, and Beto gets another one-on-one chance, and in his own personal duel with Flecker, he again comes out on the wrong side, and he tries to dink it a little bit higher this time, but Flecken gets his hand up, and this is probably the best of the saves, and probably Beto's best effort, really, in this. He's tried to mix up a little bit rather than go round or play it low. But Flecken has done great there, and I felt for Beto really, because he was in those positions, and he's been knocked a little bit like the Beto of old, and I think Flecken did great in those positions. Even when he went went to ground. It wasn't the best attempt to go round him for Beto's first effort, but for the other ones, he stood up big and. With Beto's form, you thought he might have gone to ground early to try and stop the way he has been finishing. But no, he's read it well, and he's came out on top in that duel. And I think Beto had an unlucky slash off game finishing wise, but there wasn't anything there to make me worry that he's kind of resorted to the Dyche Beto, because he was still running onto those balls, and players were still playing them in, and he was still getting involved a lot more in the game. So I think it was just unfortunate. Not the best finishing, but again, the shots were the two shots were on target. He hasn't completely ballsed them up, so to speak. So yeah, the stats. I don't know how reliable these stats are. I tried to get a reliable source, but I've gone off a number of sources. Possession: Brentford 52, Everton 48. Shots: Brentford 11, Everton 14. I mean, again, that's unheard of, or that was unheard of 6 weeks ago, wasn't it? Shots on target: Brentford 3 and Everton 5. On target 5 again. So. And two of those were those better ones. I don't think he classed the first one as a shot on target because he didn't end up getting that away. Big chances: Brentford 1, Everton 4. Expected goals: Brentford 0.78, Everton 2.03. Corners: Brentford 4, Everton 7. Fouls: Brentford 8, Everton 9. Pass accuracy 81 for Brentford, 80 for Everton. And the player of the match, on where I've got these sources from, was Flecken. Those 3 key saves against Beto, and can't argue with that really. So other ones who stood out really. So Flecken, Wissa obviously got a goal and one disallowed. Damsgaard seemed to be knackered at one point, and then he just took the game by the scruff of the neck and was just popping up all over the place. I think that's what he said on commentary as well, just dinking 3 balls in all over the show. And Mbeumo and Pinnock. Mbeumo was quite quiet last night, but he did head against the bar, which led to their goal. So even in a quiet game, he's contributing. Could Pickford have done better for the goal? O'Brien, again, I think he's being harsh on himself, but he contributed a lot defensively and going forward. Obviously, got the goal as well. Mikolenko with his first assist. Tarkowski and Branthwaite were pretty solid as usual. Garner was good until he went off. Alcaraz wanted the ball a lot. Loves driving with the ball. Loves his shot. And then obviously Beto was getting into the positions but didn't put the chances away. So that's unfortunate. Harrison, definitely better on the left. Would still like to see a better ball in. It was one of the crosses in, one of the corners in. It went straight out to play, and I think they give a free kick for Holden anyway. But now he seems to be getting a little bit more confidence. We want to see more of a contribution from him as well. So it finishes 1-1, and Thomas Frank has said probably a fair result. Flecken was outstanding, gave us a chance to win. Moisey, we had the best chances, probably should have won, but we're creating more under this new system. And it definitely is a new system. Not a whole lot of change in the players. Obviously, O'Brien and Beto have come in through necessity, really, but also definitely a change in system as well. On Beto, he's getting into positions. We just need to make sure he puts them away next time. And I think out of his big chances in the last 5 games, I think he was 100% out of the big chances. Obviously, he's had 1 or 2 half chances as well. But those were those 3 big chances, so that'll take his ratio down a little bit, and he's no longer up alongside the likes of Isak, Haaland, and Salah in those conversion rates. But still 5 in 5 for him. So it's one of those, and they are a good side. Last night, unfortunately, one of the results went for us. Didn't go for us, and that was Man United. Had a man sent off, but still managed to beat Ipswich after holding on the second half. with 10 men completely, and so they went back above us, and they wouldn't have done if we'd have got that penalty and converted the penalty, obviously, on Saturday. So that's frustrating. And we're in 15th, but 15 points above the drop zone. So it doesn't look as good as it did at the weekend, but now we've got 10 days to get players back fit and move on to a tricky spell. It's only 2 games in March, and then quite a hefty quite a hefty spell of games in April with some big hitters in there. So talking points there, missed chances for Beto, blip or a bigger concern. I think based on um, based on his form, what's been doing what he's been doing so far, I think it's a blip. I'm hoping it's a blip. I think if we continue to play that way and put the balls through to him, I think more often than not he'll finish. Defensive resilience, I think we did miss Decore and he's closing down a little bit, but Alcaraz gave us a different option in playing in a different way. But Decore, it would have been nice to have that option there. And I think, shoring it up a little bit more, it would have been good to have that option. But now 7 games unbeaten under Moyes. In his 9 games, obviously the cup game he went out, and the first game against Villa. So 9 games, 7 unbeaten, and it's just like night and day between the prior to Moyes and since Moyes came in. Just everything, people enjoying going to the match again, people looking forward to interacting with Everton posts again rather than slagging people off the whole time. So great stuff. And Jake O'Brien. So Jake O'Brien is missus put on Insta, a video announcing that they're expecting, and they just did a reveal video today as well on TikTok, and they're expecting a boy. So he's got good genes, hasn't he, that big fella? So maybe a future Everton star in the making. So things are going well for Jake O'Brien. Okay, so I said I was going to make that quick. I've gone over 2 segments, and it's about over 15 minutes. So I'll leave that there, and I'll come back with some Everton news.
News!
Hey, so Everton news of the week. First off, after 7 games unbeaten, the boys are now off to a warm weather training camp in the United Emirates. So 10 days until the Wolves game. And Moyes has said gives us a chance to reset after a tough run. So obviously the players that have been on the grass for the last week or so, like Chimiti and Patterson, who were on the bench last night, and Tim, who has been there or thereabouts, but hasn't quite been ready to start, could be able to step it up. And Zai has had injections, so his injury doesn't look to be as bad as first feared. Coleman, DCL, and Broja could well be stepping up their return as well. So after these 10 days, we could be going into that Wolves game with a much stronger squad, and that's what we really kind of need. That, don't we? There was a point last night when Alcaraz looked like he was knackered, but then was running up alongside Beto, and he was screaming at Beto when he didn't get the pass. Super frustrated. Ended up booting 2 balls, one into the stands and one from one of the little ball holder when the ball goes out to play up in the air, and getting a booking for it. And I think he was going to bring Michael Keane on for him to play up top alongside Beto. We can't have that as an option. So Chimiti definitely, I think he'll definitely be pushing to be involved a lot more. I think he was just there on the squad last night to make up numbers, whereas he should be pushing to actually be involved. Same with Patterson. If players like to go in towards the end, then having someone who's a bit of pace like that rather than having Ashley Young to bring on. And not to say he won't do a good job, but he seems to be the go-to if you need any of the fullbacks changing or any of the wingers changing. Ashley Young is it. He's the only option. So it'll be nice to have those other options. Obviously, Decore will come back into the squad. Hopefully, won't pick up any knocks over there, and hopefully, we'll see a lot of lovely team togetherness and all that kind of stuff, and positive vibes and a bit of squad building. Because the squad already looks like again, just like they're all playing for each other, and they're all again a different team under Moyes. So I think everyone seems to be aware of their roles, even if they have had to tweak the positions, like O'Brien, who's traditionally a centre back, being asked to play at right back. Moyes has obviously had a lot to say to him about that, and I think I mentioned a while ago that's what happened with Moyes when he started his career, wasn't it? So he can obviously relate and say, this is where we see it in the long term, but for now you can do a job for us there. And obviously he did last night because he got the goal. And not only that, he is pushing up higher up, and he is bombing on, and he is proven to be an outlet ball on the overlap. So it's working. But that 10-day break, and then I think it might be too soon for Calvert-Lewin and Broja, maybe even Coleman to be back then for the Wolves game. But for that real tough run in April, I hopefully we'll have them back. I'm just going to check. I should have had this on here, but I'm just going to those games coming up. I've got them screenshotted. So the first one back is Wolves away. Then we have West Ham. Wolves away on the 8th. West Ham on the 15th at home. Then the Shite away on the 2nd of April. Arsenal at home on the 5th. Forest away on the 12th. That's the day before my birthday. Might go down there for that. And then Man City at home on the 19th. So April looks tough. But imagine how tough that would look if we weren't 15 points clear of the drop. It's just a massive, massive boost that Moyes has given us since he came in. And just put out on our Facebook, how many points can you expect from that? And, some people have said if we can get 8 points from that, they'd be happy. There's no reason why we can't go and play those teams with no fear. And, if we can get how many, so if we can get this, so 18 points available, if we can get 9 points, half out of those games, I think most people would be okay with that. But if we can get 2 points per game, like the equivalent to what we're doing now, imagine, if we can win like 4 of those games. I don't know which ones. I don't want to disrespect these teams now, because obviously Wolves are going to be after points. West Ham going to be able to prove one against Moisey. The Shite. Arsenal dropping points all over the show. Forest, obviously up there, but a little bit more hit and miss at the moment. And then City seem to have come good again, at least in the league. So tricky, but we can go into those with a little bit more relaxed, not playing for our Premiership survival, and hopefully take a good few points from them. And then we can just relax in the latter few games and give Goodison a good old send-off and try and get up that league and get the extra few million. What was going on that though, if we got those extra 2 points at the weekend, the Brentford game was one thing, isn't it? We didn't put the chances away, so we've kind of dropped 2 points ourselves. But with the VAR decision, if they come out and say that was a wrong decision, obviously they've still got to put the penalty away. But that 2 extra places is that's 7 million or something, and it could be the difference between a few signings, and it's just so frustrating. So it's I don't want to harp on about it, but it's a few videos have been shared this week about other decisions that haven't gone our way, and that O'Brien one last night, as well as O'Brien probably waiting for VAR. I think a lot of Everton fans were as well. Like, first thing was like, "Ooh, was it offside? Ooh, was it a push?" And we want to be able to just enjoy. goals going in rather than looking around everywhere and wondering what we're going to be hit with. And I don't think every side is like that. So, and that should, if that's the case, it should be the case for every side. It shouldn't just be sides like Everton who have to worry about things like that. Yeah. Anyway, transfer news. Apparently, Carlo Ancelotti has been linked and said he's a big admirer of Jared Branthwaite. And why wouldn't you be? He's showing a lot of class at Everton this season, and obviously Carlo's got a lot of links to our club from his spell here, so hopefully he'll have a little bit of respect and not try and poach him. Other clubs what other clubs would be able to afford him? I don't know. It's difficult. And what other clubs would he go to? I think the way he's established himself now, he could well be our main man next year. And it's easy for me to say, isn't it? Oh, I'd want that, but then money talks and Champions League talks. So hopefully, he will still be with us when we move into that massive stadium next season. Sorry. Where, with regards to that, Everton value much higher than Madrid's first estimate. Of course we do. Hopefully we stick to that and don't get bullied. Moyes has apparently been pushing for a Decore to have to renew contract, vital to Everton's midfield. And obviously he's had a lot of stick this year, but I still think he offers a lot more than people give him credit for. So I wouldn't be averse to that. I'll go into the out of contract players after give the social media links rather than doing a preview as I mentioned before. So he'll be one I'll be talking about. Apparently, we're already working on our top target ahead of the transfer window in the summer, so that's good to hear. Why hasn't Moyes visited the new stadium yet? I haven't seen this, but this is in my news updates. I will talk more about that in the next one. And then there's still talk about this Angus Kinnear to Everton link with being linked with a move to join us as CEO, and he's not going anywhere whilst Leeds are still pushing for a promotion. Why would he? It doesn't make any sense. So that is probably going to be one that be happening in the summer if it does happen at all. Yeah. So a lot of the fallout still has still been talk about the VAR controversy. Again, there's not a whole lot of transfer news, but hopefully, that there is stuff going on in the background. Moyes has identified some players, and they're doing the best to get them in. Was there anything else I want? Oh yeah, so along with Tarkowski playing 102 consecutive games, Garnagay played his 200th game for Everton last night. What a great servant! We've got to be offering him one, and again, I'll talk about that in a sec. Anything else I need to cover? No, I'll talk more about the social media issues in a sec. Well, here are our links. Go follow us if you're not already.
This is the Not Bitter, Just Better Everton podcast. If you haven't already, go and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/EFC Not Bitter, Just Better, or you can find us on Twitter @JustBetterEFC.
Hey, so there you have our social media links. As I say, go and like, follow, etc. Steadily ticking along here. I'm noticing is quite organically growing again. I'm still trying to get more content on the go. I'm just working on a few things at the moment on putting different videos together. One thing I do want to mention, there's a massive event coming up, and I'll give more details on our social media platforms. But as many of you know, Paul, who runs Segura, got a match with, went to school with one of my best pals. He does a lot of Everton events, and he's got Big Dunk again in a Devonshire hotel. And it's sometime in May. I'll get all the dates confirmed, but he's going to be doing it's £85, and it's everyone gets a signed copy of the Big Dunk book, Big Dunk, the autobiography. I saw Big Dunk is saying, he's doing the audio book version, which should be interesting, shouldn't it? So hearing Big Dunk read that. And Paul's had him on. He had him on the Philharmonic. He's had him on the Devonshire a few times, and every time he's more and more relaxed each time, and great stories he's got to tell. And his book, I imagine, is going to be an amazing read. But if anyone's listening to this, anyone's listening and wants to know more information, just feel free to drop us a message on Facebook, Insta, TikTok, or on the YouTube channel, and I'll get that info to you. I will share it on our social medias as well. So yeah, just keep an eye out. That is going to be one not to miss there. Social media again, it just doesn't. So Monday I mentioned about being called a wool and a fruit, and the latest one is that joke I put on. It's just a crap joke about a pile of rubble and likening it to the new ground being next to Anfield. It's causing murder. The heads are falling off, and the latest one is I sound go back to Birkenhead. I mean, is that an insult anyway? And then the new ground will make it easier for me to swim back over to Birkenhead. I ain't from Birkenhead. I'm from Bootle, and I live in town. I don't know where this is coming from. And I did mention last podcast about I was under the assumption that Merseyside people were Scousers, not just people from the district of Liverpool. Sefton was also the Scouse as well. But now people from Birkenhead are also being ripped by Copites. I just don't get it. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, it made me laugh a lot, that one. Looking ahead at the contract situation. So as you know, I'd normally look at the upcoming game at the weekend. But there is none, and there's none for another 10 days now. So I probably won't do a podcast on Monday, and I'll probably do one next week, next Thursday ahead of the Wolves game. But I'll give Monday a miss unless something drastic happens over the weekend and I manage to get like a big mad exclusive or something. So players with contracts expiring, we've got Decore, Ashley Young, Begovic, Calvert-Lewin, Keane, Coleman, Virginia, and Gay, and then obviously the loan spells. Mangala's already gone back, Harrison, and Lindstrom and Broja. So looking at these, and I don't know how accurate these wages are. So there was varying reports of what the wages are. The source that I've got this one from is Team Talk. Some other Everton news ones have these listed as lower. So Decore is rumoured to be on 130,000 a week. Young 70, Begovic 20, Calvert-Lewin 100, Keane 100, Coleman 55, Virginia 7,500, and Adjusagay 120. So that's got to be cut down, hasn't it? So we think about it. Begovic and Virginia. Begovic is probably it doesn't harm to keep a goalie of his experience in there, and Virginia. I think he's got an option to an extension anyway. When he's on 7.5. So they seem like no brainers to keep. But even with Begovic, you could probably go and pick up an experienced goalkeeper similar if he does choose to go on elsewhere. But I think that's quite a safe one. Then we've got Calvert-Lewin. I don't see how we're going to keep Calvert-Lewin on 100 grand a week. I can't see another club. Well, do you know what? I can see another club paying that if they don't have to pay a transfer fee. Are we going to offer that? He probably would have asked for more if he didn't have this injury, and I don't think Everton would have offered more. But it looks like he might be on his way. Michael Keane, I'm surprised he didn't leave in the January window, and we could have. But he does offer experience on the bench and that extra option if we do get desperate and go up top. But that 100 grand a week, when he's not going to get anywhere near the first team, it looks like he's going to be a cert to go. Coleman, I think a little bit of heart over the head kind of discount, but he still offers an awful lot to the club. He's still club captain. If you could get him on in a player coach kind of role for a reduction on that wage, I think going into the new ground, I think we kind of owe it to him. And I'd love to see that going forward. Then Idrissa Gueye. This is a tricky one. 120k a week reportedly at the age of 35. If we can get him for another season or two on a reduction on that, well, he could go off anywhere and demand that wage. I say anywhere. No one's going to pay that wage, but if he went off to Saudi or somewhere, and he could definitely get that and above. So, but I think he's got a genuine love for Everton. So hopefully, if we can offer him a year or two more, and he wants the opportunity to play in a new stadium, then I think we should go for it. And Young, 70, he's going to be 40 in July. But that experience he offers as well, I think he's really turned it around this season and really offers a lot more to the squad. And he doesn't show a lot of signs of slowing down. That versatility is great. 70k, he probably would have to reduce that a little bit, but it's not like he's got all his money he could potentially need through the squad through the years. So the players I would keep on reduced wages. Young, I think Begovic and Virginia are no-brainers, even on the wages that they're on. Coleman and Gueye, I think Gueye, even on another year on that or close to that, I wouldn't begrudge. But then I've not got the wages, have I? And then Calvert-Lewin, it's going to have to be a big signing on fee as well for that wage. But I think it's going to have to be a reduced wage because he just isn't. It's harsh on him to say he's not fit enough because he did have a good run of games this season. But in that run of games, 3 goals? That isn't top money striking form. So probably would offer a reduction on that. But at that, no, I don't think. I think you're better looking elsewhere for that money. And even if there is a signing on fee, Decore is a tricky one because 130k a week reportedly. We can't be re-signing him for that. He does offer more than I think people give him credit for, but he doesn't offer enough to be the top earner at the club. And I think a lot of Everton fans would agree. If you get him for half that, maybe, but is he going to sign for half that? Again, I think a lot of other, even Premier League teams would look, and teams coming up, they'd look and think the experience he's got, they might offer him similar to that. And it's just whether his love for Everton. Yeah. The loan players, obviously, we've got Alcaraz. Has Alcaraz offered enough so far? And I think he has. Even for, I don't think I mentioned Alcaraz before, did I? But that's 15 million again. That looks like it'd be a steal for the young lad who's proven it in the Premier League before. Yeah, I think already it's a no-brainer. Broja, unless we can get a super reduced deal from Chelsea, I can't see that happening. Lindstrom, again, I think he's not offered enough for us to go out and spend 20 million, but if we get another loan on the go there, then yeah. Harrison, if Leeds come up, would you rather play for? Don't know. But again, he needs to offer a lot more, and hopefully he will do in his preferred position. But then when Ndiaye comes back, will he get in that position? So again, we could probably go and sign a left midfielder, winger, who could do a very similar job for who's younger and can offer more. Don't like saying it, but and then Magala obviously already gone back, so I doubt he'll come back on loan. We might want to look at him again, but that familiarity and doesn't have to make that bond again. But he's injured, isn't he? So we'll have to look at that again over the summer. But I think other players might leapfrog him. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to leave the podcast there. I've still managed to go a lot longer than I thought it would, and apart from these season first, managed to get through okay. So thanks for listening as always. Just keep an eye out, and I'll still be on the social medias. I'll try and get more content over the weekend, but obviously, as I mentioned, we'll be back on Monday. But next Friday, I should be back and have a good bit of content and some more team news and some players to talk about. So before then, keep an eye out, and thanks as always. Come on, you Blues!